Tonight on NewsWatch, Christian values and groups under fire from an unlikely source.
Plus, after an attack that almost killed a young Israeli, we have an amazing story of his family and forgiveness.
And CBN News sits down with Harrison Ford for a sneak peek at the new movie 42. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. An email sent by a United States Army officer identifies two conservative groups as hate groups.
And that has some conservatives demanding an apology. John Waggy explains in tonight's top story.
The email came from a Lieutenant Colonel Jack Rich, based in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The 14-page document was addressed to subordinates. It labeled two conservative pro-family organizations, the Family Research Council and the American Family Association, as domestic hate groups, along with the controversial Westboro Baptist Church, whose members are known for vocal anti-homosexual protests. One section of the officer's email reads, "The religious right in America has employed a variety of strategies in its efforts to beat back the increasingly confident gay rights movement. Many of its leaders have engaged in the crudest type of name-calling, describing LGBT people as perverts with filthy habits who seek to snatch the children of straight parents and convert them to gay sex."
It's outrageous that FRC and the American Family Association would be designated as domestic hate groups by our own military, particularly Family Research Council.
Brian Fisher of the American Family Association says the Pentagon's information comes from the Southern Poverty Law Center, a group that furnished a hate map to a man who pleaded guilty to an attack on a security guard at Family Research Council headquarters in Washington last summer.
The first thing that we need to see happen is for the Pentagon to distance itself from this email and then from the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is a thoroughly discredited source of information. They've designated FRC and AFA as hate groups simply because we disagree with them on the issue of homosexuality. Well, disagreement is not hatred, and speaking the truth about homosexual behavior is not hate speech. So it's a completely outrageous and unfounded allegation. I believe personally Lieutenant Colonel Rich ought to be demoted, and I believe the Pentagon owes both FRC and the AFA a profound and effusive apology.
John Waggy, CBN News.
Strong words there. Well, joining us now to discuss this is Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin. General Boykin, thanks as always for joining us.
Hey, I'm glad to be with you.
Did this email surprise you, sir?
Well, I tell you, it saddens me, and actually it does surprise me. It's one more thing in a pattern of attacks on the Christian faith to include inside our military. I'm very saddened by this.
Why do you think this action by this Army officer is so dangerous?
Well, what he just did was he just isolated about 40% of the men and women serving in our armed forces. You know, 40% or more are self-identified as evangelicals, and then there's probably another large percentage as Catholics. And this guy has just done something that I believe is beyond the pale in terms of insensitivity towards the very people that are wearing the uniform.
Now, we understand he took a lot of information from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Are they inciting hate with their hate group campaign?
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because Southern Poverty Law Center has appointed itself to be the guardian of the values of a number of extremist movements, and all of them, by the way, are anti-Christian. Southern Poverty Law Center has been fleecing people for a long time, and in publishing this map of hate groups and hate mongers or individuals, what they've done is they've endangered those people in those groups. You know, the man that shot our building manager on the 15th of August of last year at the Family Research Council, that man targeted us because we were labeled as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And let me just finish by saying, on the 6th of February, that man pled guilty to domestic terrorism. Southern Poverty Law Center is now associated with violent domestic terrorism.
How should the Army respond to this?
Well, first of all, the Lieutenant Colonel Rich, I see no future for him in the Army, and I think that he should be allowed to leave the Army as quickly as possible. Secondly, the Army needs to publish an apology on his behalf. And thirdly, the Army needs to come out with a statement that is very clear in supporting the religious liberties of Christians, just as they have with the liberties of other organizations in our military today.
Okay, Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, thank you, sir, for your information.
Thank you.
Protecting America's borders through increased surveillance and tighter security will be the centerpiece of landmark immigration reform. A bipartisan group of senators reached that agreement Wednesday as thousands of illegal immigrants rallied nationwide. Gary Lane has that story.
Illegal immigration is personal for Arizona rancher Jim Chilton.
I live in no man's land. I have to protect myself.
Chilton regularly patrols his property along 5 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border.
The border is not secure.
So as Chilton and some of his ranch hands go about their daily business rounding up cattle, robotic motion sensor cameras monitor his property. He and his neighbors have videotaped hundreds of illegals crossing the border onto their land. Supporters of immigration reform say that's why it's so important that legislation include tighter border security and surveillance. A proposed agreement finalized by senators Wednesday would call for surveillance of the entire 2,000-mile U.S.-Mexico border and the apprehension of 90% of those crossing in designated high-risk areas. Those already in the U.S. illegally would be given green cards within 10 years, but only after the implementation of the Southern Border Security Plan. Employers would also be required to adopt mandatory electronic verification of their workers' legal status, and a new electronic exit system will be put in place at airports and seaports. Tens of thousands of immigration reform advocates, some of them in the U.S. illegally, attended rallies throughout the U.S. Wednesday. Many took their cause to the nation's capital, voicing support for President Obama's deferred deportation program and fast-track citizenship. Meanwhile, 2,000 miles away in Arizona, ranchers like Jim Chilton suggest their priority is protecting the homeland, their homes, lives, and property. Gary Lane, CBN News.
The Senate has voted to begin debate on gun control. It was the first win for gun control supporters in what's likely to be a long fight. They needed 60 votes to block an effort by some conservatives to push back debate. Senators voted 68 to 31 in favor of moving forward. That decision comes on the heels of a big push by the president, including using the parents of Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting victims to help make his case for stricter gun regulations.
The U.S. is expected to increase aid to Syrian rebels. The Obama administration will likely provide body armor and night vision goggles, but will stop short of providing lethal weapons. The rebels are in a bloody battle with Syrian President Bashar Assad's government forces. Secretary of State John Kerry is in London for a G8 foreign ministers meeting, where he's also meeting with Syrian opposition leaders. He says the U.S. prefers a political solution that includes Assad leaving power.
5 years ago, a young Israeli boy almost died in a series of attacks that attracted worldwide attention. Now an Israeli court brought the case to end. The court sentenced American-born Jack Title on a number of charges for his attack on 15-year-old Ami Ortiz and others. As Chris Mitchell reports, an amazing part of the story deals with the forgiving spirit shown by the boy's parents.
Jack Title walked into the Jerusalem courtroom unrepentant. He said he had no regrets. The judge responded with 2 life sentences in 2 murder cases and an additional 30 years for other crimes.
We hope that this heavy punishment will deter any others who may think of doing any kind of terror activities or participating in such.
Title's reign of terror included killing 2 Arabs and sending a bomb to the house of Messianic pastors David and Leah Ortiz. The explosion nearly killed then 15-year-old Ami Ortiz. Miraculously, he survived. At one point, Title claimed he did God's will, but during sentencing, the judge said his holy work had become dust under his feet and that his actions contradicted the values of the Jewish state. Part of his mission included eradicating Jews who believe Jesus is the Jewish Messiah from Israel. Ironically, his actions spread the news of those Messianic Jews throughout the country.
The Lord has, in His mercy, has chosen us to suffer for His name's sake, that His name should be lifted up. But that's the only thing we can take with us, only Jesus.
Leah Ortiz says from the very beginning, God told her to pray for the man who tried to kill her son.
He gave me his love for Jack Titel. I didn't know who Jack Titel was, but he gave me the love of God and told me to pray for the person that did this and to pray for his salvation.
Have you and David and Ami and the family forgiven Jack?
All of us had to from the very beginning. Otherwise, we would have been prisoners along with him. We would have been destroyed. We wouldn't have been able to receive any kind of healing in our lives whatsoever.
Yet they credit the prayers of believers from around the world.
It was their prayers that were able to lift us up and keep us afloat. Without the prayers, we wouldn't be able to do it.
I have never known the Lord as Emmanuel as I have through this situation. He has stayed so close to us. We have experienced the body of Christ around the world in a way that is unbelievable.
David and Leah Ortiz express relief at the verdict, grateful Title cannot harm other families, and hope one day to visit him in jail to share God's love. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Incredible story. Well, we're learning more about the North Korea missile that has South Korea and its allies in the region on high alert. The Musudan is new, never tested, and it's said to be gassed up and ready to fly. The missile reportedly has a range that could reach U.S. bases in Guam or Okinawa more than 2,000 miles away. The U.S. has deployed a flotilla off the coast, including radar ships capable of early launch detection. Japan has positioned Patriot missiles around Tokyo. Meanwhile, South Korea is at its highest state of alert, short of war.
A shepherd in combat boots, a saint, a blessing from God. That's how fellow soldiers remember Army chaplain Emil Kapan. Today, he was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously for his extraordinary heroism. His nephew accepted the award. Father Kapan, as he was known, was among the first U.S. troops on the ground in the Korean War.
In the chaos, dodging bullets and explosions, Father Kapan raced between foxholes, out past the front lines, and into no man's land, dragging the wounded to safety. When his commanders ordered an evacuation, he chose to stay, gathering the injured, tending to their wounds.
Father Kapan negotiated for a safe surrender and saved a fellow soldier from being executed. In captivity, he led prayer services. He was persecuted for his faith, but never lost it. Father Kapan was 35 when he died, a POW. Coming up, pro-life protesters take the fight for signs to the Supreme Court. We'll explain.
Someone once said, life doesn't give do-overs, but that's not entirely true.
What a remarkable comeback for Kurt Warner.
I'm Kurt Warner, and I got a second chance that changed my life. I remember those feelings. I didn't want to fail. I want to give you an opportunity to chase after your dream.
Seriously?
When you know you were meant to do something, you can't let life stand in your way.
This is what I've been trying for so many years.
I've been given a second chance.
The Moment, a new reality series hosted by Kurt Warner, premieres tonight at 10. Only on USA.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Someone once said, life doesn't give do-overs, but that's not entirely true.
What a remarkable comeback for Kurt Warner.
I'm Kurt Warner, and I got a second chance that changed my life. I remember those feelings. I didn't want to fail. I want to give you an opportunity to chase after your dream.
Seriously?
When you know you were meant to do something, you can't let life stand in your way.
This is what I've been trying for so many years.
I've been given a second chance.
The Moment, a new reality series hosted by Kurt Warner, premieres tonight at 10. Only on USA.
Neurosurgeon Ben Carson will not be this year's commencement speaker at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. That after students protested statements he made about same-sex marriage. Carson has been in the national spotlight after giving a speech critical of President Obama at the National Prayer Breakfast earlier this year. In an email to the dean of the Hopkins Medical School, Carson wrote he's concerned his speech would be a distraction to graduates. According to the Baltimore Sun, he wrote, "Given all the national media surrounding my statements as to my belief in traditional marriage, I believe it would be in the best interests of the students for me to voluntarily withdraw as your commencement speaker this year."
Well, should the government forbid pro-life protesters from showing gruesome images of aborted babies in public? It's a question the Supreme Court will soon answer. And while it may seem like something only affecting pro-lifers, Paul Strand reports it could have serious implications on the free speech rights of all Americans.
Ken Scott would be considered somewhat of a rabble-rouser among pro-lifers. He and his fellow protesters routinely yell at customers and workers at Denver's largest abortion clinic.
God says do not murder, Steve.
And they often display large, horrifying photos of what they consider the most horrifying of acts, the killing, often dismembering, of little unborn babies.
The signs here portray the results of abortion, and that's why the protests exist, because it's the taking of a human life in a very gruesome and gory way.
Scott talked to CBN News just outside the clinic.
A picture's worth 1,000 words, and it shows the truth. Where's the picture of choice for all these girls over there saying, I believe in choice? They're not showing the picture.
But showing such images outside what they consider an abortion-supporting church in full view of children during an outdoor processional earned them an injunction against displaying their graphic posters. Colorado's courts declared such images caused psychological harm, including to the pastor's daughter. The judge who slapped the injunction on Scott wrote, Reverend Carlson's daughter, age 7, buried her face in a hymnal as she passed the protesters and was still upset about the posters I've described several days later.
In this present age, when safeguarding our children is the #1 thing, this seems like a pretty open and shut case. Of course we want to protect our kids.
I'm a parent. I don't want my children to be disturbed and upset.
But UCLA professor Eugene Volokh has officially petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court to review this case and declare the First Amendment completely protects showing such gruesome images.
If you allow courts to restrict speech simply because there's some evidence that some children are upset and disturbed, and in the court's view that is tantamount to psychological harm, that would allow a restriction on a vast range of speech that needs to remain constitutionally protected.
Volokh points out such gruesome photos helped bring an end to lynchings of African Americans and made the Holocaust real to a shocked world.
Photographs of the dead and the near dead from the concentration camps were very important in getting people to fully understand what it is that happened there.
Again and again in American history, injustice has been brought to an end when people saw the victims of that injustice. That's what we're trying to do here with these signs.
If the U.S. Supreme Court lets the Colorado law against these images stand, these pro-lifers and other opponents warn it will eat away at one of America's most cherished rights, freedom of speech.
Because if a law lets you tell me what I can no longer show or tell, even if I think it's of paramount importance, well, who's to say someone someday can't use that same law to prevent you from saying or showing what you think matters most? Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the campus of UCLA.
The state of Delaware is investigating the Planned Parenthood abortion clinic in Wilmington. 2 nurses claim the clinic is operating under unsanitary and unsafe conditions. They told Philadelphia's ABC television affiliate that they quit the clinic to protect their own medical licenses. Delaware Planned Parenthood claims it provides high-quality services.
Up next, we sat down with a cast of 42, including Harrison Ford. It's a film about the life of baseball legend Jackie Robinson.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Yeah. Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes now.
Someone once said, life doesn't give do-overs. But that's not entirely true.
What a remarkable comeback for Kurt Warner.
I'm Kurt Warner, and I got a second chance that changed my life. I remember those feelings. I didn't want to fail. I want to give you an opportunity to chase after your dream.
Seriously?
When you know you were meant to do something, you can't let life stand in your way.
This is what I've been trying for so many years.
I've been given a second chance.
The Moment, a new reality series hosted by Kurt Warner, premieres tonight at 10. Only on USA.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Someone once said, life doesn't give do-overs. But that's not entirely true.
What a remarkable comeback for Kurt Warner.
I'm Kurt Warner, and I got a second chance that changed my life. I remember those feelings. I didn't want to fail. I want to give you an opportunity to chase after your dream.
Seriously?
When you know you were meant to do something, you can't let life stand in your way.
This is what I've been trying for so many years.
I've been given a second chance.
The Moment, a new reality series hosted by Kurt Warner, premieres tonight at 10. Only on USA.
Well, hero is a word we often hear in sports, but heroism isn't always about the achievement on the field. A new movie tells the story of 2 men whose courage helped change America.
42 is about the great Jackie Robinson, the man who broke the color barrier in baseball, and Branch Rickey, the man who chose Robinson to pave the way for blacks to play in the major leagues.
Charlene Israel recently sat down with the cast of 42.
Hey, you're looking for your locker, aren't you, son?
42 follows baseball's Jackie Robinson as he plays for the Brooklyn Dodgers. The film highlighting Robinson's struggles as well as his triumphs as he plays for the team in the late 1940s. Facing blatant racism from every side, even from his own teammates, Robinson's life demonstrated tremendous courage and restraint. Chadwick Boseman plays the role of Jackie Robinson.
Real Mrs. Robinson asked you, who are you and why do you want to play my husband? What was your response to that?
The response is that he's your hero. You know, he's one of the people that we stand on his shoulders. He's walked the road that you know you should want to walk. He's courageous. He's everything that you want to play when you're an actor. That's all I could say, and I told her that I would do my best and put my all into this.
The film shows segregation's impact on the game and people, white and black.
We win if the world is convinced of 2 things: that you are a fine gentleman and a great baseball player.
Oscar-nominated movie star Harrison Ford plays Brooklyn Dodgers boss Branch Rickey. Rickey's brave stand against racial prejudice helped change the world by changing the game of baseball. He put himself at the forefront of history in 1947 when he signed Robinson to his team, breaking the Major League's infamous color line.
You say you were fascinated by this character. What was it about him that really just grabbed you?
I understood his relationship with Jackie Robinson. I read a very well-written script, which gave me the opportunity to understand, it gave me context for an understanding of the character. But the emotional relationship I felt to him was very strong as well, and both of those things are important to me.
42 also showcases the inspirational love story between Jackie Robinson and his wife, Rachel. Their strong bond allowed them to respond to hatred with decency and faith.
God built me to last. When I spoke with Rachel Robinson, the first thing that I really realized is that they did this together. This was not just him, you know. It sounds cliche. Behind every great man, there's a great woman. or greater woman. But in this case, you know, it's true that it was a unit.
The film is filled with both good and painful memories from America's history and offers teachable moments for people of all ages.
I think it's just a terrific movie and an important movie for people to see, young people especially, who are unaware of the details of our history and how important this moment in baseball was to the civil rights movement, which was a lot closer in time because of the efforts of Jackie Robinson and Branch Rickey in baseball.
42 is rated PG-13. It opens in theaters this weekend.
Uniform. You give me a number on my back.
Ow, my feet hurt. My feet hurt, your feet hurt. White hot pain, I wanna cry. Is there anything I can try?
Why, yes! Introducing Strut Soul Angels, the human shock absorber that helps alleviate foot pain.
The first 10 steps in the morning to the bathroom were excruciating. Within 3 days after I put Struts on, it's been such a relief.
Slipped it on and almost immediately I felt a support, kind of like a pillow underneath my arches.
The Struts Soul Angel provides a great amount of relief and support throughout the course of the day, providing shock absorption and relief of pain.
On your feet without proper support can be painful. Strut Soul Angels promotes better balance, control, and body alignment. Standing in your heels all day is painful, but slip on Struts and you'll enjoy comfort and support 24/7. Struts is so versatile, you'll wear them in every shoe you own, even barefoot.
I'm on my feet all the time. I teach 11 and 12-year-olds. The pain was so much that I knew I had to do something. And with the Struts, I can do my job and enjoy my job.
I usually am on my feet from 8 to 12 hours a day. When I wear my Struts, it's like giving my feet a hug all day.
It's life-changing. I wear them from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed.
Why pay $400 for custom orthotics?
Now get Strut Soul Angels for just $10. You also get Miracle Foot Repair Cream, absolutely free. Use it to help relieve dry, callous feet overnight. But wait, call right now and we'll double the offer free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Plus, you get a 100% money-back guarantee. If not completely delighted, send it back. But keep the foot cream as our gift just for trying. You get it all. A $70 value for just $10.
Oh, yes! Love my Struts, love my Struts. The best thing since sliced bread. They heal pain from toes to head. Get yours now, your doctor said.
Struts. Be nice to your feet. Call now.
Call 1-800-787-1580 and get your Struts and Miracle Foot Repair for just $10 and we'll double the offer. That's 1-800-787-1580 or visit getstruts.com.
CBN is working to help refugees after a fire destroyed their camp in western Thailand.
Yeah, more than 2,000 people were left homeless by the blaze. Many of those are Christian refugees from Burma. CBN partnered with local churches to help reach out to the fire victims, offering clothes, shoes, and cooking supplies. A church was also destroyed in that blaze. CBN is planning to provide tents for worshipers until it can be rebuilt. Many of the refugees say that despite the fire, they still have hope because of God.
Wow, that's wonderful that CBN stepping in. That's all for this edition of NewsWatch.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.